Hello everyone, welcome back to PM Playbook. In this episode, we are going to bring together three foundational concepts in project management: the project lifecycle, the development approaches, and the project management focus areas. Project lifecycle. Before we dive into the project lifecycle, let us first understand what a project phase is. A project phase is a group of related activities that lead to one or more specific deliverables. These phases can follow different patterns. They might be sequential, transitional, or even overlapping. In some cases, moving from one phase to the next requires a formal review known as a phase gate or stage gate. This can act as an exit criterion for the current phase or an entry criterion for the next. Now, when we look at how these phases flow from start to finish, we get what's called the project life cycle. But here's the important part: there's no single life cycle that's fit all projects. Different industries and different organizations define their own life cycles based on how they operate. For example, in a construction, the life cycle typically moves from feasibility to design, then build and commission, a clearly sequential flow. In contrast, a software project might begin with requirements, move into design and build, then deploy and transition. While this example shows a sequential flow, in practice, the phases can be transitional or even overlapping. Organizations often adopt specific life cycles as part of their standard project delivery guidelines, tailoring them to fit their strategy, tools, and team dynamics. Project development approaches is the method used to create and evolve the product, service, or result during the project lifecycle. Choosing the right approach depends on many factors like how clear the requirements are, the stability of the scope, the timeline, the organization's culture, and even the level of stakeholder involvement and risk. Let's look at the three main approaches. Predictive approach. This is often called waterfall or plan driven. It works best when the scope is well defined early and unlikely to change. Think of building a bridge or a power plant. Everything must be planned upfront with strict reviews and controls at each stage. Because the investment is high and risks are significant, certainty is captured early and most of the planning happens before execution begins. Adaptive approach, also known as agile or change driven. This is useful when requirements are uncertain or expected to evolve. Imagine developing a mobile app. You start with a vision, then refine features through repeated cycles. Iterative methods focus on improving the product through repeated refinements, while incremental methods deliver small, usable pieces that build towards a final product. But adaptive approaches requires more than just a process. They need an agile mindset, which I'll cover in detail in a future video. Teams must be self-organizing, empowered to make decisions and adjust quickly. A helpful way to think about each loop as a PDCA cycle: plan, do, check, and adjust. I will cover agile principles and ways of working in a future video. Hybrid approach. This blends both predictive and adaptive elements. For example, in a software project, requirements, testing, and deployment may follow a predictive flow, while design and build are handled adaptively to respond to evolving needs. Another example is designing a custom home may require adaptive exploration during the design phase, but once construction begins, the process follows a predictive flow. Hybrid models are also common when different deliverables can be modularized. Some parts developed iteratively, others planned in detail. The key takeaway is that no single approach fits all projects. Project managers must assess the context, requirements, risk, culture, and complexity, and then tailor the development approach to deliver maximum value. Managing constraints in adaptive projects. One of the biggest challenges in adaptive approaches is dealing with uncertainty, especially when the scope is evolving. Unlike predictive methods where scope, cost, and schedule are locked early, adaptive projects must constantly balance these constraints as the project unfolds. It is important to note that different adaptive approaches may establish different sets of baselines. In other words, what you measure and stabilize may vary depending on the context. Projects often need the ability to flex one constraint in order to hold another steady. There are essentially two ways to manage this balance. Option 1: keep scope variable while holding cost and schedule fixed. In this case, the team delivers as much value as possible within the agreed budget and timeline. This is the most common adaptive setup where features evolve but deadlines and costs remain stable. Option 2: keep scope fixed but allow cost and schedule to vary. Here, the deliverables are non negotiable, but the project may require more time and resources to achieve them. This option is less common but can be necessary when certain outcomes are mandatory. The key is that adaptive projects don't treat all constraints equally. They choose which ones to stabilize and which one to flex, depending on the project context and organizational priorities. Now, let us look at the project management focus areas, what was earlier referred as process groups till PMBOK 7th edition. These represent the fundamental actions that takes place across any project, regardless of industry or delivery method. It's important to note that process groups are not the same as project lifecycle or the development approach. While life cycles describe the sequence of phases and approaches define how the product is built, focus areas describe the management actions that guide the project from start to finish. They are also project lifecycle and development approach agnostic, meaning they apply no matter which lifecycle or development approach you choose. Whether you are working in predictive, adaptive, or hybrid, these five focus areas initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, and controlling, and closing remain consistent. Think of them as the universal framework of project management, the actions every project manager must perform, even though the way they are applied may vary depending on the context. We have now covered the project lifecycle and development approaches, an introduction to project management focus areas, setting the foundation for how projects are structured and delivered. The next step in our journey is a deep dive into the project management focus areas. In the upcoming session, we will explore each focus area a bit more in detail, understand its purpose, and see how they work together to guide a project from start to finish. Thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit the like button, share this video with friends and colleagues, and subscribe to PM Playbook. That way, you will never miss out on more practical project management insights. See you in the next episode. Until then, take care and keep building great projects.